God told me to tell the church that he has assigned a different glory that's resting on our church now. Somebody please hear me. He said, I'm building something new. I'm building something special. I'm building something unseen. People won't even know how to describe this glory. God said to me, what other people call revival, we will call home. What other people call encounter and revival, we will call our residence. Somebody shout, I receive it. I need to give you two angles to this text, y'all. Number one, I told you that it's intriguing to me, and I've preached this many times before, but I need you to catch it again, that of all of these thousands of people that are in the presence of Jesus right here, as he's been teaching, I'm messed up by the fact that when they went looking for food, they could only find it from one person. And it's more intriguing to me, please hear me when we teach this thing, it's more intriguing to me that the Bible calls this, that we call this what the Bible says, that Jesus fed 5,000, but of the 5,000 people, none of these 5,000 were willing to give Jesus what they had. Hear me, it says 5,000 men were in attendance, but the person they got the food from was a little boy. Y'all ain't ready for me. I promise I'm gonna go quick if you catch me and get online with me here. But I need you to understand, many of us, y'all, we are present, but we're not offering God anything. Whew. There was 5,000 men plus women and children. Why is it? I wish like 4 mothers in the house would be honest with me and say, yo, I don't understand how all of these women would send their children to see Jesus and they ain't send them with no food. They didn't send them with no snacks. Last I heard, my grandmother would look funny at my mama if I didn't eat right. My grandmother cooked for me because she believed in feeding the children. My mama cooks for me. When I don't cook for my kids, my mama cooks for them. So as I understand it in our culture, y'all, if you don't feed your kids, there's something wrong with you as a mother. But I'm intrigued by the fact that this one woman said, I'm not going to let my boy go out here no matter where he's going without food. And the greatest part to this is that of all of these people, this little boy was willing to surrender what he had and put it into the hands of Jesus. Oh, because we're present, but we're not offering him anything. We keep forming crowds with no power and no potential. Hear me. We're forming crowds, but there's no power and there's no potential. Catch this point. Stop talking about how gifted you are if God can't have access to your gifts. I'm tired of hearing about how anointed folks are in the church, but they won't give God no access to their gifts. I'm tired of hearing about how much folk got it going on and how special you are and how smart you are and how oily you are and all of that stuff, but God can't have access to your gifts. What's the point in you continuing to show up and be anointed if God can't use what's inside of you? The little boy wasn't even included, but you're going to tell me that everybody else in that crowd was without food? The young boy most likely wasn't the only person with food in the crowd, but I need you to hear me. But at some point, you got to be willing to let go of what is yours and make it God's. If you want God to touch what you have to take it out of your hand and put it in his. But let me be honest with you, because that's what our church has lost. That's what today's church has lost, that this church seemingly was starting to lose, and where we were struggling and where we struggle today as a church is that we've gone to a place where we've lost our willingness to sacrifice. We've lost our willingness to sacrifice. Now, all we're willing to do is be convenient. We listen, inconvenience can't be God. That's our mindset today, and that's why we struggle to see miracles, signs, and wonders, because I need you to understand that when we lose our willingness to sacrifice, we lose our ability to see God move. Hear me. We're not willing to be inconvenienced for God anymore. Catch this point. Stop claiming what we won't live. You have to be present and available. Make that make sense for me, PC. You're either available or you're not. It's not about whether you're present. It's about whether you're present and available. You can be here, but not available. I'm waiting on some people that say, I'm not only here, I'm available, God. Not only do you have me, you have my resources. Not only do you have me, you have my willingness, you have my availability, you have my sacrifice, you have permission to use me. And so Jesus, watch this that I love, y'all, because now I got to shift you. We got the understanding of the little boy who was willing to let go of what he had and put it in Jesus' hands. But now I need to take you, I need to turn left here with you, because I need to discuss the disciples for a second. Because this is the part that really messes me up when I look at this text. The disciples were present, and all they did was argue Jesus down about how this miracle could not happen. Somebody hear me? All they did was try to convince Jesus of all the reasons why it wouldn't work. Hear me? We would have to work for 8 months. Another translation says to have enough money to pay to feed all these people. 8 months. But I need you to understand that when Jesus was ready to do the miracle, the Bible says that he took what was in his hand. He took what he had gotten from the little boy. He blessed it. He broke it. He pointed it towards heaven. And watch this. Then he gave it to the disciples and told them to distribute it. Uh-oh. Come back with me. Catch this point right quick. Ministry isn't about preferences, it's about partnerships. That's too strong, y'all. That's too strong. It's too much weight for me to not have time to mess with it. But I need you to understand, Jesus gave the disciples this food and told them to go pass it out. After he blessed it, he gives it to them. They bring it to him. He blesses it, and then he gives it back to them. I'm waiting on you to catch me. It is, watch this, it is the power of God, but it was your work. Oh, God. It was Jesus' power, but it was your work to do. That's why I need you to understand God is looking right now in this season and in this moment. He's looking for vessels that he can raise up to work through. Are you available, somebody? He's looking for vessels that he can raise up to work through. Oh, can I come and take another turn? That's why you got to be present and available wherever your leader is. Hear me? Because Jesus said, yeah, the disciples are my followers, but I need you to understand with the disciples that Jesus said, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not on me. Jesus could have easily taken this bread and walked around to all 15, 20,000 people and distributed the bread himself, but he stops and gives it to the disciples and said, y'all go pass it out. It's your work to do. What am I saying? We got to lose this mentality in the church that it's my pastor's job to do everything, that it's God's job to come do everything for me. It's somebody else's assignment. No. It's your assignment. Somebody say, I'm anointed for this. I'm anointed for this. I've been called for this. I've been appointed. I've been assigned. And God said, I didn't just bring you along to have your preferences and do what works for you. I brought you along for a partnership. That's what all I got to tell you today, that Jesus says to us through the text. I need you to understand that I'm looking for partners in the earth. I'm looking for partners who say, I'm about my Father's business. I'm about kingdom business. I'm here to do what God called me to do. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. It doesn't matter how inconvenient it feels. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable I feel. I'm here to do the work of God. If that's what he said, that's what I'm going to do. Whether I can see it in my logic, whether I can understand and comprehend or not, I'm going to do what Jesus said do. That's why you got to be where your leader is. Oh, let me rebuke you for a second, Rockstar Church. Y'all don't like it, but that's why you got to stop letting your leader come to church and you not with him. You got to stop letting your leader pray and you not praying. You got to stop letting your leader serve and you ain't serving. I'm not here to serve for you. I'm here to serve with you. God didn't call me to do the work. He called us to do the work. That's why you've been assigned here. That's why you've been assigned here. I need to stop coming to church sometimes and see if stuff still get done. Jesus said, I'm not passing out this food. This is your work. God is working through you. Why? Because Jesus understood that he wouldn't always be with the disciples. So he said, if you keep depending on me, you'll never be able to do what God called you to do. That's why I'm trying to push you to get up on your own. Get up, Rockstar Church. Get the bread back out of the hands of God and go do the work that God has called you to do. It's time for you to go start knocking on some doors. It's time for you to start calling some folk. It's time for you to start telling people. It's time for you to start preaching. It's time for you to start laying hands. It's time for you to start praying. Ministry is not about preferences, it's about partnerships. Jesus said, I didn't have the disciples simply to be my followers. They were ministry partners. This wasn't all about Jesus, it was about the disciples. Oh, I'm finna be done here, y'all, but I need to give you something. Jesus sits the people in the grass. Somebody shout grass. The Bible said that he set them in the grass, and when he set them down, he told the disciples, again, he speaks to the people through the disciples, go tell the people to sit down. And when they told the people to sit down, God said, I'm putting you in posture to receive. You got to understand, it was customary that you're not going to stand up and eat. If you sat down, you were in expectation. Oh, I'm waiting. That's what I'm waiting on, folk who walk into church and say, I expect. I'm here in posture to receive. I walk in with my hands up because I expect God to move. I walk in with my hands out because I expect God to operate. I walk in with expectation. I walk in with a dance and a praise, and I walk in giving God the fruit of my lips. Why? Because I expect him to move in my life. But you got to understand that grass represents fertile ground. That's what was so good about it, y'all, that Jesus said, have them sit down in the grass. Grass represented that it was good ground. I didn't just have you sit anywhere. Help me preach. I didn't just tell you to sit down just anywhere. I told you to sit in good ground. I told you to sit in a good place. Sit in a blessed place. Not only because I can't just come pour it out on raggedy ground, on fallow ground, on stony ground. I have to pour it out on good ground so that you can be ready to receive. Because I have an understanding that if you stand on good ground, if you sow into good ground, you become good ground. That's all I'm trying to help you. So what is God saying? I'm taking it back to the beginning. I told you that God said, I'm doing a new thing in the house. I'm doing a new thing in my people. I'm doing a new thing in the church. He said, I'm positioning your life for growth and miracles. That's what it was about. Catch this point. God is positioning your life for growth and miracles. Shout, I receive it. That's why he set you in the grass, because I'm positioning you for growth. I'm positioning you for a miracle. That's why I said sit down and sit in the grass, because there's miracles. That's miracle ground. And every time you walk in here, I'm telling you that you're walking on miracle ground. You're walking into testimonies. You're walking into breakthrough. You're walking into deliverance. You're walking into help. You're walking into hope. You're walking into strength. That's why we got to be careful about where we are. Be careful about where you're going. And be careful about what you do when you get there. Because you're carrying miracles. Many of you have to change up some things about your life. Because if you're going to carry miracles, you can't expose miracles to any old thing. God can't be a part of raggedy. You got to give him your best. Position yourself for miracles. I'm done here, y'all. But I just got to give you this last piece to bless you on your way out. I know you'd ask as you think about this, because you know today's church is a logical church. We're a thinking church. We're educated. We are, you know, we got it together. We're improving ourselves. We're doing us. It's the information age, and we believe in looking up stuff on Wikipedia and Google, and we want to read, and we don't necessarily understand what we read, and we don't know how to read it, but we try to read it anyway. We out here starting denominations based on stuff somebody told us, and I'm going to help you anyway. Because I know that somebody, Paul would look at this text and say, I have a problem with this. Because Everybody else got to eat except the disciples. We don't like that kind of teaching. Why did the disciples have to pass out food for thousands and then they don't get nothing? They had to do all the work. All them people had to do was just sit there. Y'all with me? I just need to help you understand one good part. Tell them this is the good part. Tell somebody this is the good part. Look at somebody, this is the good part. At the end of the story, Jesus told them, Nick, collect the leftovers. Oh my God. Collect the leftovers. And the leftovers were told to be collected because catch this is for you. The leftovers were not assigned to the crowd. The leftovers were assigned to the disciples. People who didn't understand that what you went through brought you a miracle will waste it. Oh, God, help me. So the Holy Ghost says, watch how Jesus says to them in the text, I need you to understand that he said, I don't want anything to be wasted. Because all of those people who were in that crowd might have just assumed this was casual. But they don't know how much went into the behind the scenes of getting 5, 10, 15, 20,000 people fed. And so it's easy to take the work of God for granted when you don't know what it took to get you here. That's why I'm talking to some people in the house right quick who want to be honest with me and say, Pastor, it hurt me sometimes that people took me for granted because they don't know how hard I had to pray to get to this level of deliverance that I'm at. That's why some people didn't understand why I appreciate the car and the house God gave me like I do, because they don't know where I was 6 months ago. They don't know how it felt to be asking for rides, and they don't know how the reason I keep my car clean is because I remember when I couldn't afford a car. They don't know why I got to where I am, but it's because of what God brought me out of. And so Jesus says, hey, disciples, do not let that be left over, because see, that's the thing. Everybody don't appreciate what you've been building. I need somebody to talk. Everybody don't appreciate what you've been working for and what you've been building and what it took, Colton. They don't understand and appreciate how much y'all got to rehearse and prepare to come in here and sing these songs. When people sit there and look at you like you crazy, they don't understand how much it took to pull church off when we walk in here 40 minutes late and just say whatever. We don't invest and we don't get involved, or we come once a month and they don't understand how much it took. They don't understand the level of prayer that you had to be in. But he says to the disciples, don't let it be wasted. Why? Because he said the miracle was not assigned to the crowd. The miracle was assigned to the faithful. Watch me prove it in the text, PC. He says there was 12 disciples and 12 baskets of leftovers. Oh my God. So he says 12 baskets of leftovers and 12 disciples. And so he says, don't let them overlook, don't let them minimize what I did for you here today. Don't let them diminish what I've shown you. Don't let them overlook my power. Don't let them act like I ain't done nothing. Go collect the leftovers. See, catch this last point. I'm done right here. When you spectate, you live in just enough. When you surrender and serve, you live in too much. High five somebody around you and tell them, I speak the spirit of too much over your life. Too much, too much, too much. I speak overflow over your life. I speak overflow. You're not walking in regular no more. You're walking in overflow. You're not walking in just enough. You're walking in too much. I'm tired of the church of God settling for decent when God called us to overflow. Somebody shout, I speak overflow over my life. Overflow over my church, overflow over my children, overflow over my family, overflow over my friends. But it starts when you let go of what's in your hand. And he said, I need you to understand it's time out for the people settling for just enough. Surrender and serve and watch God do more than enough.